Despite what the internet is telling you, it's possible to avoid the expensive and often soul-sucking experience of behemoth retail. Here to share some ways to avoid the Black Friday blues, we're joined by Suzanne Pickett, an artist and executive director with the historic Eastside Community Development Corporation. Good morning, Suzanne. Welcome back.
Good morning, and thank you.
Rona Brinley, owner of the Bookmark in Neptune Beach. Good morning, Rona.
Thanks for having me.
Virginia Chamley, thrifting guru and author of Big Thrift Energy, the art and thrill of finding vintage treasures. Good morning, Virginia.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And Erica Laspada, director of volunteer and community engagement with the United Way of Northeast Florida. Hey, Erica, thanks for being here.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
So, Suzanne, your group is hosting a holiday market. It seems to embody a lot of what we're talking about today. Talk a little bit about the impact just of supporting small businesses and a little bit about what those businesses are that are going to be involved in your event.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So we are hosting Black Arts Magic Holiday Market. This is our fourth year that we'll be hosting it, but it's the first year that we'll be having it on A. Philip Randolph Boulevard in the East Side. And it's a market of fine art and gifts, most of them handmade, created by local artists and artisans, clothers, authors. So we're really excited about the opportunity to help everyone shop small in the community, support the Jacksonville economy, and also support local artists and local creatives.
You are a local artist and, no stranger to the fact that it can be difficult reaching an audience, making sure that people are able to see but also purchase your stuff. And so how do you involve other artists and artisans in this event? How do you choose them?
We sent out a request for artists, a call to artists to participate in the Black Arts Magic event. We're also having a small pop-up for Florida Avenue Main Street. So we partner with other organizations to get the word out, post social media. And of course, today we appreciate coming on to help people, learn the importance of supporting arts and supporting small businesses in the community.
So, Rona, obviously, you are a small business in the community. How long has the Bookmark been around now?
35 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young
That's
for a
great.
person, old for a bookstore.
Old for a bookstore. And I mean, for a bookstore, particularly in Neptune Beach, I feel like so much of the area that is now just this booming town center sort of area is built around your success as a bookstore. Because you were, one of not that many retail operations that long ago.
Right. Yeah, we have some staying power. And I've always thought of the Beaches Town Center as having some kind of synchronicity where everybody should get made better off by the fact that everyone else is there at the same time. So if you go to dinner, then you can come shop at the bookstore. If you come to the Bookmark, you go to dinner afterwards or to lunch or whatever, or coffee, whatever it is. So I think it's a good synchronicity.
So one of the things that we asked you to do today was to bring this giant armload of books, and we have them stacked up along our window here, but we also have some of the book covers that we can show. I wanted to start just because a lot of people have kids on their gift list that they have to address this year. People enjoy giving kids books, and it can be difficult sometimes to sort of find the right thing, the right gift. Will you start by talking to us a little bit about some of the holiday gift books that you've chosen?
Sure. So I brought two in, and just to back up for a second, that's what we love doing in all small businesses and everybody here, that notion that you match a person with what makes sense for them. It's not just coming in and doing a big land grab or something and then going to the cash register. So the two I brought today were the Christmas Sweater, which is by Jan Breton. We're very excited. She's coming to the Bookmark on Sunday, December 14th at 10 in the morning, and it's just huge when she comes. It's hundreds of people. And this is about a sweet pug who gets a Christmas sweater knit for him, and he loses it, and the adventure of trying to find it. And we are partnering with the Coastal Pug Rescue, and they're going to have, dogs that people can adopt. And we're going to have a contest, take a picture of your pug in a Christmas sweater and win a prize.
Oh, wow. You have to take some video of you trying to wrestle your pug into the sweater in the first place.
Oh, that would be good. That would probably help you win. Absolutely. Yeah, don't give away too many tips. And the other one is Schmelf the Hanukkah Elf, which is not brand new this year, but I love it because Hanukkah and Christmas overlap this year. So this is kind of like the Jewish Christmas book where, Schmelf the Elf discovers that there are people on Santa's that aren't on Santa's list because they've, quote, not been naughty, but they're not on the good list, but it turns out that they're Jewish. And so Santa has to explain to him that, he's
Uh-huh.
kind of newish. These kids are Jewish. And
Uh-huh.
so he becomes the Hanukkah elf and he can take presents to the Jewish kids while Santa's taking presents to everyone else.
Well, I mean, one thing you say, it is helpful to have targeted books and to be able to talk to someone at the bookstore about the
Yes.
people that you're shopping for. I mean, one of the great things is also being able to sneak a few books into the bin for yourself, right?
Absolutely. I always say, if as long as it's 2 to 1 in the holidays, you buy two for others to one for you. It's impossible. If you go shopping, it's not. It's unfair to expect that it's all nice giving.
Virginia, I want to bring you into the conversation because you are, by training and expertise, a kind of a thrifting guru. You have written the book on thrifting, but you have a marvelous internet presence, particularly Instagram.
Thank
You
you.
do thrifting all over, really, the country, but
do.
you are based here in Northeast Florida. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about what, if you had to choose kind of your top gift thrifting suggestions for people when they're headed out. Are there some strategies that they can begin if they want to do some sustainable gift giving?
Absolutely. Well, I think I'm of the mindset that you can find anything at the thrift store. And certainly, I think books are a great gift. If you want a book, you should go to the bookmark first. But maybe if you want a vintage book, like a big vintage art book or a coffee table book, I think that can be a great gift,
Mhm.
particularly if, you have someone on your list that loves art or architecture or travel.
Mm-hmm.
I think vessels are another really good
Vessels.
gift object. I love stuff that holds other stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, things like ashtrays, catch-alls, vases are great, especially if you're going to maybe a dinner party. You want to bring flowers. How
Uh-huh.
nice to sort of make your own floral arrangement and put it in a vintage vase, which you can find at your local Goodwill for like $5 or $10. Art also, I think art is so expensive typically, and you can find, certainly local art at,
Yes.
at great art shows. But, if you have someone on your list that collects vintage art, thrift stores are a great place to find
You
that.
found some really amazing pieces
I
of
have.
art, and you make art. You
I
are an
do.
artist yourself,
I
so you
am.
sell art, and
Yeah.
and so how do you keep an eye for what is good? I mean, there's art that has probably not that everybody would desire, that sort of has, maybe a lesser luster.
Well, I like bad art too.
You do? Okay.
I love weird stuff. So, I think with art, the main thing is you want to buy things that are original or at least numbered. I think oftentimes people will see a poster and they'll think, oh, this is a really good find because I did a Google image search and it looks like, this is a priceless Picasso. And it's like, actually, that's a Picasso poster from Amazon. So, it's a good idea to just get accustomed to looking very closely. The thing about a thrift store is you can look and touch and feel.
Mhm.
So, check to make sure there's actually paint on the canvas. And look, it doesn't have to be worth a lot in the sense of, financial or monetary value. It just has to be worth something to you if it brings you joy or if it's something really fun and funky. One of my favorite things to thrift is like children's art projects. So,
Oh.
really fun vases that you can tell a kid maybe made in art class or just like a fun abstract painting of a fish or something and a kid made it, but in a beautiful vintage frame. That can be a great gift and it can look really good on your wall.
I've seen on your posts where you kind of, I think with some irritation, will be shopping with someone, they'll be like, "Well, yeah, but where are you gonna put it?" And do you have to have something in mind when you buy some sort of art piece or, kind of structure, sculpture? Do you have to have a place in mind to put it, or do you just
No.
sort of build up a space around it?
I build a space around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I joke that my house is kind of a art gallery or gallery of stuff rather because I bring stuff in, I take stuff out. And the thing about thrifting is you'll find things that you'll never ever ever see again because they're often original and unique and so you kind of have to get it, especially if it's affordable. And I have a storage unit too, so that helps.
That helps, yeah. Erica Laspada, I want to ask you about, nonprofit giving, because
Mhm.
there has been a trend in recent years where people gift their loved ones or their friends something that is a gift to a nonprofit,
Mhm.
basically a tribute gift or a gift in their name.
Absolutely.
Um, is that something that people typically do with United Way? Is that something that you see an uptick in?
It's something you see every once in a while. I think we haven't, at least at United Way, haven't seen an uptick in it recently, but it's something that does happen because it's a great way to honor what a person's passion was, as well as connecting with your community and improving your community at the same time.
And so if there are particular interests that somebody has, like if they're, into nature or if they're into um, the environment, if they're into I don't know, I'm trying to think of like some opportunities that people might have to choose an appropriate I think of, World Wildlife Fund has done this thing where
Hmm.
they have created these little stuffed animals, and so if you kind of symbolically
Oh,
adopt an
yes.
animal, they'll send you a little stuffed animal in its image, and you
Hmm.
can kind of um, achieve two things. I don't want to say kill two birds with one
Yeah,
stone in
you
this
have a
particular
physical
reference, but
thing
yeah,
as
right,
well as
right, right.
a monetary thing. Yes, particularly like larger nonprofits that are national and things like that. They will have their own swag that might be easy to sort of pass on. But then you have something that a smaller nonprofit like a Historic Eastside
Mhm.
CDC and this the Black Arts Market. Like you might find something that sort of connects with that nonprofit as well that's more unique and sort of local.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true, Suzanne. Some of
Mhm.
this stuff, I mean, it's almost like serving two purposes.
Mhm.
People who are going to shop the Black Arts Magic event are going to be supporting local businesses, but they're
Absolutely.
also going
Mhm.
to be vicariously supporting the CDC.
Absolutely. We for the past maybe 5 years or so, we work with United Way, and they have gifters who provide gifts to families for the
Mhm.
holidays, but also for Black Arts Magic. When you make a purchase, a portion of that purchase goes to the community work that we do in our efforts to restore and revitalize the East Side neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it is shopping with a purpose.
I
Mhm.
was interested to see, Erica, that there is a lot of research that's been done into the benefits of giving.
Mhm.
And not just in the sense that, it's a kind of a community good or it can be a nice gesture if you want to adopt a manatee, say,
Mhm.
for your friend who loves manatees, you can do that and make a donation to the Save the Manatee Club. But also just selfishly, it's actually kind of a gift to
Absolutely.
yourself. Talk a little bit about what we've learned in terms of the benefits health, psychological benefits of being of of giving through nonprofits or charities.
Absolutely. I work in volunteerism, so that's sort of another form of giving, and there's a lot of research on that about how it improves mental health, the sort of that connection, and it's similar. I mean, you don't have quite the same social aspect as you would with volunteerism, but giving does sort of connect you to your community, and it is that connection that sort of improves mental health, especially in these days it
Yeah.
can be a little
Yeah.
difficult. So there is definitely a correlation, and you're also speaking to your why a little bit. If you feel a little adrift, knowing what your passions are and sort of connecting to that automatically has a resonance.
I
Mhm.
was seeing too that there is, in terms of the physiological response, that there's kind of this endorphin surge that
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
They've found that giving and nonprofit charitable giving, philanthropic giving lowers your blood pressure, and it
Hmm.
actually can like reduce your risk of death from stress associated or anxiety associated illnesses.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of kind of correlates to that gratitude, that feeling of gratitude that they often say that you should sort of tell yourself to sort of uplift yourself, and so that's actually all part of it. You're reminding yourself that there is good in the world, that there
Mhm.
are people out there who care, that you are one of those people that care.
Mhm.
So it's sort of a series of thoughts that kind of uplift you when you're giving like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about ways to give gifts that matter and make you feel good. If you have received such a gift or if you have ideas about ways to give one, you can give us a call at 904-549-2937. You can email First Coast Connect at wjct.org, or you can go to firstcoastconnect.org to find all the ways that you can connect with us. Virginia, I want to ask you about, thrifting. Is it an appropriate gift for everyone? Because some people might look askance at like a secondhand gift, right? They maybe want something fresh out of the box. Are there? Do you? Are there certain personality types that you wouldn't thrift give to?
Not me, and I think it kind of all comes down to marketing, like, just call it vintage if it's over 25 years old, right? Um, I think thrifting for a really long time was sort of looked down upon because it did seem like, "Oh, you're buying someone else's junk," but certainly the younger generation, I mean, anytime I go to Goodwill, I'm competing against Gen Zs trying to get stuff,
Uh-huh.
so I think it's become cool because, it's more sustainable, it's better for the environment, and it's nice to buy something that's more well made. I mean, so much of what we see now online is maybe not made out of the best materials. And so thrifting can sort of be a great way to invest in something, which sounds counterintuitive because it's affordable. But, if you buy a piece of furniture, a piece of art, you'll probably have it for years at the thrift store.
We're going to be talking a little bit later about sort of planning your finances for the
Yeah.
holidays. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is, trying to make a gift list and go out with some sense of preparation as to who you need to buy for. It seems to me that there is a peril in thrift giving is that you go and you find this perfect thing for somebody
Absolutely.
that isn't even on your list. You're like, this would be great for so and so. I don't actually need to buy them a gift this year. What do you do in that situation?
Buy it and save it for when you do need to give them a gift, their birthday, or, if they have some special anniversary or celebration coming up.
This is where the storage unit comes in
This is where the
handy.
storage unit comes in handy and my art closet, which I didn't mention before, but I have that too. Yeah, I think, the danger of thrifting is that you will never see it again. So you do kind of have to jump at it,
Mhm.
particularly if it's something that's affordable and, within your budget.
And so for people who aren't skilled at this, it does take time, it does take patience. It is not
Yes.
something that um, anyone can just sort of waltz into and expect that they're going to clear their shopping list.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
how do you prepare somebody if they're not, good at this, if they don't really know the drill?
Well, I think it's good to have more of a general list than a really, really specific list when you go thrifting. So if you have someone on your list, your gift giving list that loves art, you might not find them the perfect painting, but you might find maybe they're an artist and you find some really cool art supplies or an easel or a really beautiful frame that they can put another piece of art they already have in or a sculpture. So, it's more about having categories, broad categories, rather than, I'm going to find this perfect 1980s postmodern painting.
Right. Rona, I want to get back to you and talk about some other more adult-oriented books. Don't mean that in any racy way. Just for
For
adults,
grown-ups.
for
Yeah.
grown-ups. Thank you. Yeah. What are you looking at? You have some books that are holiday books, sort of for grown-ups, right? That are themed around the holidays.
Right, there are always books around the holidays, but, the thing about it's like the thrift store, people come in with general categories, what is your father like? He likes World War II, or he likes history, or they likes art, or so, and really, people leave their free will at the door when they come into the book market. And
Wait,
so we tell them
explain
what.
that. Explain
Yeah,
that.
so they look to us for advice, and so they say, "Well, what are you reading?" And they know that different people read different things, and so if they want certain categories, if they want, romantasy, they'll ask one person. If they want literary fiction, they might ask a different person, or history, they might ask. We all know all of it, but some people know more than others,
Yeah.
all pigs aren't equal. Um, so some of my favorites that I bought for adults, and the great thing about this time of year is all my favorite authors come out because it's all about me, really. So all my favorite authors, they come out for Christmas. The publishers are smart, so there's a new Ian McEwan. He wrote Atonement 20 years ago and still writes exquisite stuff. It's one of my favorites. It's set in 2119. I originally thought he said 2019, then it didn't make sense, and it's 2119. And there's a professor going back to find a poem over 100 years ago and what happened to it and how it got lost, and the world is in a terrible state. And so he's looking for some sanity.
This is the What We Can Know.
This is What We Can Know by Ian McEwan. And so that's if you love beautiful writing and if you remember how much you loved Atonement. The Great Man is another one of my favorite. That's the retelling of The Great Gatsby in 1945 in Hollywood, and all the characters are black. And it's true to the story. All the characters are parallel to the exact story. And my husband said, "Well, doesn't it ruin it? It's going to." It doesn't. It adds a whole new layer of interest because it's post World War II, and you have a black soldier returning. It has the same exact parallel characters and the same story, but the fact that it's in Hollywood, it's a different time period and a different race it just enriches the story so much. That's another
And this is The Great Man with two N's.
with
It's
two mans because
by
that's his name.
by
Yeah.
Kyra Davis Lurie.
Right.
Yeah. And so that is an interesting. There has been kind of this trend we've seen of books that are like James, that there are books that are in the canon that have been reimagined
Yes.
and revisited. And
Yeah, retellings are hugely popular now. So, but it's fun, it's kind of like in the old days when you could tell the Arthurian legend from the point of view of women,
Yeah.
so Mist of Avalon. So this is a long tradition, but it's gotten even more. All the myths are being retold, sometimes in modern times, sometimes just in a different place or in a different world that's created by fantasy. Um, and then, of course, I can't leave out Harper Lee because, she's when people say, what's your favorite book? And it depends on the week. But, two that stay forever are To Kill a Mockingbird and Henry David Thoreau, Walden Pond. So Harper Lee has a new book of short stories called The Land of Sweet Forever. Now, she's no longer with us. So they're new in the sense that we haven't seen them. They precede the 1960 publication of To Kill a Mockingbird. And they're stories she wrote for magazines and newspapers and different things at the time. And she tells stories about her home in Alabama and her relationship with Truman Capote, and then when she moved to New York, and they're a great insight into a time period. She has references to a woman who gets expelled from the University of Alabama for drinking beer because in those days you should only smell of Chanel Number 5 and Lavoris.
Wow. That puts you right in time, doesn't
Right.
it?
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the Ian McEwan book that you were talking about, that basically takes place in a future where they're referencing our time as sort
Yes.
of this period of derangement. Is that right? Because people were not taking climate change seriously.
Right. In part, it's sort of interesting because they say that if we'd taken those seriously, they wouldn't be in the mess that they're in 100 years later, where the world is ravaged by climate change and war, and is not a world that they're happy in. It's totally altered. So in some senses, there's a nostalgia for 100 years ago, and in the other sense, there's the sense that, well, if we had just taken care of things better, they wouldn't be in that pickle 100 years later.
Yeah. My Ian McEwan favorite is Nutshell, which is a
Oh,
very
it's fantastic.
short and readable, and I think makes a great gift for whatever purpose. But you also have on your list The American Revolution, which has been airing on PBS, the Ken
Right.
Burns series, which is kind of epic. And some folks I've talked to have been a little overwhelmed by just the quantity of information. So I'm curious about that recommendation as sort of a companion read for the series to, kind of pull it together or help people reflect on it and not feel like they're drinking from a fire hose with the, so much information.
It is a lot, and I've been watching it, and it is a lot to take in, but it's so much new information, and it's so fascinating. And what he really excels in is matching the pictures with the story. And so if you get this huge coffee table book, you get those pictures, and the art in those days was amazing because there's not photography, and so the paintings were just exquisite to represent what was going on. And so you get this coffee table book, and it's a book that I call that you could visit. You don't have to sit down and read it cover to cover. You're not going to do that. You can sit and look at the pictures and read one segment, and then, like you say, let that digest before you move on to the next. And if something happened on the TV show that you go, I wish I knew more about that. I forgot what he said. You can,
Look and
instead of rewinding, you can just
that makes a lot
sit
of
quietly with the book and revisit that part of the story.
sense. Sure. And images are a huge part of that. I want to say we've got a call from Sean on the West Side. Good morning, Sean. Go ahead.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Go ahead. Thanks for calling.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I'm thrilled to hear this conversation over people getting excited about reused, rediscovered, vintage and antique items. I own a shop over on the West Side, Delightfully Strange Finds, and we've put together a vintage crawl on Small Business Sunday to encourage people to come out and rediscover new items to them as a gifting for the holidays. And there are about 8 shops involved. But I've had a lot of people that are coming in talking to family members that they're shopping with saying, well, the rule is it has to be thrifted or from the antique shop or vintage. That's the rule. And I love that. So I'm just excited. I'm happy that this is happening. And I encourage people on Small Business Sunday, hit your small businesses, hit your antique stores, hit the places that do vintage, because these are small businesses that people have put everything into, their heart, their soul, their finances. And it's so exciting to see this really grow more than it already is, because there's a lot of new shops out there too.
Sean, I want to ask you, because my producer put in some of the stores that are participating, and I want to just list them. But to be clear, is it a Saturday event, the Small Business Saturday, or is it on Sunday?
Yep. Small Business Saturday
Okay.
vintage crawl,
Okay.
and we've got a drawing. We've got little cards. If you fill them out from all the shops or even really close, we're going to do, each shop is contributing some sort of vintage or antique item. We're going to do little giveaways. When I mean little, they're just going to be fun. But really just to have people discover, there's over 10 shops just in Riverside, Avondale, and Murray Hill.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so some of those on this list are Castaways, The Looking Glass, Fans and Stoves, Bougie Basket, Vintage Exchange, Levie and Rose Antiques, Cool Stuff Vintage, and Delightfully Strange Finds, which is Sean's store. So I want to ask you about that, Virginia, because there are different kinds of thrifting. There's sort of your go to a garage sale. There's your kind of hardcore, if you're just going to a true charity, whatever comes in the door is out on the floor. And then there's these increasingly curated
Right.
vintage type stores where they've done the shopping for you and they've got it all arranged very beautifully, almost like an antique store.
hmm
And sometimes there's overlap there. So do you have a preference? And what do you make of like who should be hitting which kind?
Well, I think if you're new to buying vintage and thrifting, going to an antique gallery or something that is a little more curated is a great sort of entree into it. And that's because A, it's curated, like you say. B, it tends to be just as affordable often as a thrift store. And people
Really?
don't realize that. I mean, especially if you're buying something small jewelry or a little piece of porcelain, collectible kind of a thing, you can often find that in the glass cases in the front of an antique gallery. You know, those cases where you have to request a key and it scares so many people and they're so nervous because they think, oh, this must be very expensive if I can't see the price. But often it's just because these are little tiny items and they don't want to lose them.
Mm.
I have found so many incredible gifts in those glass cases, like pieces of jewelry and things like that. And to the caller's point, I think that's such a cool idea. You know, if you have a white elephant exchange, to make it be maybe locally purchased gifts only or thrifted gifts only or secondhand gifts only. I think that's a really cool idea.
I want to ask you about that because, Suzanne, this is, you know, something like this West Side, vintage and antique store crawl
Mhm.
can really help focus target dollars in an area. Um, is that important in terms of, the work that the East Side Development Corporation does in revitalizing the East Side? Is there an effort to really funnel the retail focus on those local stores?
Yes, it is. Again, we are now we have a Florida Avenue Main Street, which is an initiative of National Main Street America, and Florida Main Street, and it's the only Main Street in Jacksonville. So our goal of the Main Street is to provide resources to enhance commercial districts. And as you're aware, there's so much development around us with the stadium development, the Mosh, the Four Seasons Hotel. So the goal is to um, enhance the east side so that's a complement to the area. And just recently, I am the National Art Futures Fellow for Creative West and South Arts. And my
Congratulations.
passion project is to enhance the east side, the corridor, as an arts and economic development district. It's a 6 month fellowship that provides resources and awareness and assistance for the work that we're doing to build up our commercial corridor. So while we have several small businesses, we still have 11 small businesses there. We have really great eatery, restaurants. We still have our local businesses, a t-shirt shop, barber shop, hair salon, our cultural center as well at 928 Philip Randolph Boulevard. We have the Brotherhood across the street. We have the Melanin Collaborative Group, which is having the Melanin Market actually on that Friday along the avenue. And it is the new name, well, not so new, but since 2005, is A. Philip Randolph Boulevard, but it's historically Florida Avenue.
Mhm.
And Florida Avenue was that self sustained African American community, which we're trying to get back to that with the development that's happening in the East Side. So it is very important.
Erica, I want to ask you about your own experience in terms of gifts that have either been memorable that you've received or that you've given that really stay with you. Because I feel like there are those kinds of gifts that we've all gotten or given at one point that really did feel like they were unusually special.
Oh, of course. But actually to speak to what Suzanne and what you were saying about the thrift stores. Anything that sort of comes from the heart
Mhm.
that speaks to that person knowing you individually, of course, makes a huge difference to you.
Yeah.
I can speak a little bit about like gifts, little gifts that sort of mean a lot to other people. You never know what's going to resonate with somebody.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Mainly if you do know them, just something to say like, "Hey, I've listened to you. I understand who you are as a person, and I see you as a person,"
Uh-huh.
which is not always easy to do because you have to kind of you kind of have to sort through that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I know that that's meant, and it's not how much money you spent
Yeah.
or how much uh, things like that. Things that mainly sort of connect to that person that
Yeah.
you're seeing.
Rona, how about you? Has there been something either in or out of the book world that has been a particularly great gift that you gave or one that you received?
Um, well, I think it's always nice, like you say, if it's something that people show that they know you and they've paid attention so that everybody doesn't get the same thing.
Mhm.
It's kind of an interesting, I just thought about this. We have this subscription club where you can sign up and give somebody 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long of books that we will select. In some bookstores, just pick one book and everybody gets the same book. But because we like to make things harder, we do what we do all day is we have people fill out a questionnaire and what do you like to read and what do you not like to read and what movies do you watch. And so the idea is to match that gift to that person so that they know that you've thought about them. And those are the most thoughtful gifts when somebody thinks about, well, what is it that you like that you would appreciate, not something that I would like. You hear parents all the time talking to little kids, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's for Joey. It's his birthday. So what would Joey like? Not what would you like? And that's a hard concept to learn. But the thing that strikes me about all of this is it's all really connected. I mean, anytime we've ever done a drive to collect books, to donate, people are very generous and they want to have them get another home. They're good books. Their kids have grown up. They've read them. They're in pretty good shape. So we want to donate them to give to somebody else. It makes them feel better. They found a cause they care about reading. And then we often have people who come in the store looking for local artists. So, do you have cards that are by local artists or something
Right.
that's, a local author? And so the sense that they're all connected, I think, is important. And what you're trying to do today, I think, is to say, shop small. 3 to 3.5 times of the money stays in the community. You support your neighborhood. You
Exactly.
support your local businesses. You support issues. We're in that stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. People
Yeah.
need to eat. They need a place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they can get to the top and get some art to find
Right.
some joy.
Yeah.
Rona, you should be running this show, man. I've always been. I want to ask you that same question, Virginia, in terms of gifts that have really clicked that you've been able to get, either that you've gotten or given.
Okay, I'll say what I've gotten first. And you mentioned adult books earlier,
Uh-huh.
so this is a good one on
Good
that topic.
segue. Okay.
To be clear, this has no photos inside it, but my mom gifted me a Braille Playboy.
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
Playboy has Braille editions because the
Come
Library
on.
of Congress, has periodicals create things in Braille. And I had just always wanted one. It's entirely in Braille, no images or anything. It's just
What?
the iconic logo on the
Wow.
front.
Mhm.
Because for years, Playboy was known for its articles. They have
It's
had
not. There's
incredible
not like
authors
nudie
write them.
outlines or something
No
in Braille.
outlines.
Okay.
No. But it sits on my coffee table. My mom tracked it down on eBay. It's
Wow.
from, I think this one was printed in 1992. There are definitely some from much earlier, but so
What a
that was
find.
a really good find, something that I had always wanted to find. And then in terms of one I've given, my grandmother's dad owned a motel in Georgia. When she was very, very young, and I found on eBay some postcards and matchbooks from the motel.
Oh wow.
And it cost $5 or something. I mean, nobody knew what this motel was except for her. And I gifted her that, and that was just, I
Yeah.
think, special for her.
Mhm.
That's fantastic.
We
Suzanne.
often get you talking about the greeting cards. We actually create custom greeting cards from artists that we'll have available as well. But the gifts that we get from United Way, whether it's a snack pack or a small gift, they often come with a custom greeting card, and those are really well received by the recipients. They love that someone has intentionally and authentically thought of them to create that greeting card or design that snack pack, and it's very important. So it does mean a lot when it's much more personal.
Yeah. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, of course, one of the nonprofits in the world is WJCT. So that is something that people can also consider when they're thinking about their um, charitable giving. But you guys have been great guests. Thank you so much for being here today. It's a pleasure talking to all of you. Rona Brindley, Virginia Chamley, Erica Laspada, Suzanne Pickett. Thanks
Thank
a lot
you.
for doing this today. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
Thanks for having us.
Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving,
everyone.
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Well, no matter how you're going to be spending your money this holiday season, it's safe to expect that you will be spending some money at least. So, here to tell us how to plan for that expense wisely is Victoria Jones. She is the member success manager of the RadiFi Credit Union's Park Street branch. Victoria, nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So, as you heard, we've been talking a lot this morning about ways to kind of target your spending on things that you care about and may be beneficial to the community. Um, all of the holiday spending that is going to happen this year is happening in a really tough economy where people are concerned. Some people have experienced furloughs or layoffs. There's impacts from tariffs. Inflation continues to be an issue. So, first of all, what are you hearing from the community of people that you serve that, about how they're feeling heading into a holiday shopping season?
First, I think that just being at the credit union and just talking to different members, as you mentioned, we are seeing where a lot of members were experiencing the furlough and things like that. A lot of them are kind of worried on, they've had to use their savings and their holiday spending accounts early on
Mm.
to kind of keep up on bills and things like that. But just a lot of pressure because you have different avenues, you have different ads and text messages coming through and emails and commercials and things like that, and you have the pressure of trying to get ready for the holidays, wanting to just pretty much buy what you can when you can for your family. And you don't want them to have to worry about that, the pressure that comes from that. So pretty much just a lot of pressure with
Yeah.
it being the holiday season.
And you mentioned a holiday spending account, which is a great thing if you have it. I know that's something that the credit union encourages people to plan for and to try to build up over the year. What are how does someone kind of begin that process? How much should they be saving? Is there kind of a target way that you suggest people begin contributing to an account like that?
Yeah, of course. So the first thing you want to think about is the fact that you should have a financial goal. If you don't have one, reach out to your local financial institution. Kind of get an idea of what that would look like. You want to understand what your budget is. Budget is that term is thrown out a lot, but I think it's important that we pay attention to what's realistic for each person, each household. Everyone's budget is going to be different. Just understanding what you want to spend. The next thing is definitely just knowing how much you're bringing in, how much you want to spend, and then um, just really sticking to it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to
yeah.
ask you in terms of how much, setting a budget. I've heard thrown around the idea that you should not spend no more than 1.5% of your annual income. Is that a number that is commonly used in your world in terms of trying to set an appropriate threshold for spending?
In my world, not necessarily. I haven't heard it a lot. I haven't heard that specific statistic or that specific number. I think that from what I've seen, most people don't think about that
Mm-hmm.
as far as like, okay, setting it aside, especially if you don't have a budget.
Right.
Um,
Well, so if you don't have a budget at this point, I mean, as you said, some people created a budget, they've had to dip into it anyway because it's been a difficult financial,
yeah.
chapter here. But if you don't have one and you're just going to, day after Thanksgiving, you're going to start your Christmas
Yeah.
shopping or your Hanukkah shopping or your holiday shopping. What do you advise people to do if they don't have, a cushion already?
I think that they need to take a few moments and look at what they have, look at how much they're bringing in and what they're going to spend. You have a lot of things that you have to think about. There's some national research that states most consumers are spending about $900 during the holidays. But remember that that 900, it's not just gifts. You have holiday parties, you have food, you have entertaining things that you need to do. S-
Holiday cards and wrapping paper always seem to be the things that I forget about.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, even for myself, it's easy to say, okay, well, we're going to spend 400 on the kids and then maybe another 100, 200 for the family. But then we're hosting both holidays at the
Oh
house.
yeah.
We're having to buy food and things like that, and decorations and all kinds of stuff like that. So being realistic about not just the gifts, but what else, what other resources and things that you're going to have to provide for your family that's coming in.
So a lot of people, you talked about getting ads, and one thing that we see a lot now, particularly in online pushes, is this buy now, pay later concept. And that kind of goes hand in hand with credit cards that offer you free financing. What should people know about those promises and whether they're a good deal or not?
I think that I like to use the term realistic a lot because you see the buy now pay laters and it's like I can get this now, but the later part is that what you want to pay attention to. Yeah, you're going to get now for your family and things like that, but the later part, are you going to be able to keep up with the budget? Are you going to be able to keep up with what your goals were for the holidays? As far as using credit cards and things like that, those are good options to avoid, fraud or risk and things like that. But just knowing that don't get distracted from the pressure of the holidays because you still have a goal for the next year that's to come that you want to pay attention to as well.
And one thing we mentioned briefly in the previous segment, but I wonder if you think is a good idea, is to try to get your family to agree to kind of do of a white elephant type gift giving, or a secret Santa, as opposed to buying everybody an individual gift.
Yeah, I think that's a great option just because it gives everyone a set dollar, 10, 15, $20 to put towards the holidays instead of, like you said, making a list for each person.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to save money during the holidays as well.
Are you going to engage in Black Friday shopping, or are you going to hold off?
I think that I'm gonna hold off. I think that it's a crazy tactic to get consumers to spend. I was speaking to my marketing manager before the interview, and she was like, I got a text message from Wayfair stating, "Buy now, it's Black Friday." She's like, first off, it's Monday, and how does it end tonight? It's just the pressure.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it. The pressure, they're gonna send it. Those deals are gonna be there regardless, even if it's the day before Christmas. Those deals are gonna be there because they want and they need to sell this stuff. So don't get swept into the FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
It's there.
It'll be there.
Yeah.
Well, Victoria Jones from RadiFi, thank you so much for being here. Really
Of
nice to meet
course.
you.
Thank you so much for having